what's happening in Heights Student Ministries? Listen, Pastor Tim here, and I'm excited today to share with you one of these stories that I find in the gospel that just has captured my attention from day one. You see, it was this group of men who had gone out to fish because fishing is what they do. And they had rowed out into the middle of the night because they would fish at night because the waters would be too warm and the fish would dive deep during the day, but they would come to the surface, closer to the surface at night because of the temperature to feed. And so these guys go out at night to fish all night long so that in the morning they could bring in their catch and sell it, and that's how they made a living. And see, these guys had done it forever. They were known to be these incredible fishermen. They had a reputation. These were master fishermen, but yet they go out all night long. And they're on the boat and they're rowing, and they take their nets and they stand at the bow of the boat, and as they looking across the water, waiting for just a little bit of a ripple to indicate like they're the fish. And when that little rippling, little fluttering of the water happens, they immediately throw these gigantic nets out into the water, and they land. And then they sink and they kind of encapsulate these fish. And then at the very right moment, they yank that rope and it cinches it all up. And then hand over hand over hand, they pull in this heavy net and they pull it up, and there's nothing in the nets. And so they wait and they do it again and they do it again and they do it again all night long. And they catch zero fish. And so they're on the shore in the morning and they're cleaning their nets and they're just kind of off to the side when they notice this group of people gathering. They're following this guy named Jesus. And they're following Jesus. They're listening to what he has to say. And I could imagine maybe Peter was off to the side. He probably didn't even want to be noticed. He's probably thinking, great, I have this reputation as a fisherman. And yet here I am with zero fish. And now this crowd is coming. Now they're going to see me in all of my failure. And so he's probably maybe off to the side. And the crowd is gathering and Jesus is speaking. And so let me read it to you. It's found in Luke chapter 5, verse 1. He says this: one day as Jesus was preaching on the shore of the Sea of Galilee, great crowds pressed in on him. They were pushing on him. They were getting close because they want to listen to the word of God. He noticed 2 empty boats at the water's edge, for the fishermen had left them and were washing their nets. Stepping into one of the boats, Jesus asked Simon, its owner, who is Peter, who would become Peter the apostle, he says, you push it out into the water. So he sat in the boat and he taught the crowds from there. So Jesus gets into the front of this little boat. He has Peter push it out a little way so he can create some distance between him and the crowd. And he began to teach the people from Peter's boat. Peter probably didn't want to be recognized. He probably didn't catch any fish. Well, we know he didn't catch any fish, but yet he gets pulled into this story, and there he is with Jesus. And it says this: when he, meaning Jesus, had finished speaking, he said to Simon, now go out where it is deeper and let down your nets to catch some fish. Master, Simon replied, we worked hard all night and didn't catch a thing, but if you say so, I'll let down my nets again. And this time their nets were so full of fish, they began to tear. A shout for help brought their partners in that other boat out to them, and soon both boats were filled with fish and on the verge of sinking. Could you imagine? Fishing all night long when it's optimal to fish? Having some rabbi say, some teacher say, hey, take me out, we'll go fish over here, cast your nets. He's probably thinking, well, as a matter of fact, you see it. I didn't catch anything, Jesus. I didn't catch anything all night long, but okay. If you say so, we'll go do it. And it turns into this amazing moment where Jesus shows up and it changes Peter's life forever. When I look at that, and you're probably asking, like, Tim, why does this message, why does it have such an impact on you? Because I see myself in Peter so much. I see myself in Peter so many times in this story. I love the way it ends. It says this at the end: when Simon Peter realized what had happened, he fell to his knees before Jesus and said, "Oh Lord, please leave me. I am too much of a sinner to be around you." For he was awestruck by the number of fish they had caught and the others that were with him. And it gives a list. Jesus says, and Jesus replied to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on, you will be fishing for people." And it says, as soon as they landed, they left everything and they followed Jesus. They followed Jesus. There's three things I want to share with you today really quick, just to kind of get you thinking, because I think we all can see ourselves in Peter, in Simon, as he's referred to before Jesus changed his name. As we see in Simon, we can see ourselves if we're really going to look. I mean, we've all had those moments of failure, right? Like, I just can't get any of this right. I can't figure any of it out, or I keep making mistakes. And what do? We want to go off to the side. We may not want people to even see us or understand or even know that we've had a bad day or a bad week, or we've been making bad decisions, or just we failed. Maybe it's not even decisions we've made. It's just we have failed. It's not working out the way we had planned. And so we just kind of like want to be left alone, or we are embarrassed, or whatever that is for you. But there is Simon Peter, right? After a night of fishing, and quite frankly, he didn't catch anything. And now Jesus is saying, "Hey, come over here. Help me push this boat out. Your boat. I'm going to get in your boat." And here's the deal. Here's what Jesus asked him. He said, "Hey, let's go out and fish. Let's go out there. Let's go do something that's uncommon. Let's go do something that you don't think is going to work. Let's go do what I want you to do. Let's go do what I have foreseen, maybe called out in you, but let's go out and do this thing." And like Peter, so many of us are like, but this didn't work. It's not going to work. And we talk ourselves out of it. We psych ourselves out of it. But here's what Peter did, and here's what we need to understand, this first one, and it's this. Peter says, "Master," right? "If you say so." If you say so. I love that. So the point I want to make is we need to learn to push from the shore. We've got to push. When Jesus says, "Let's go," we need to be willing to push from the shore. Push away from what's keeping us from what God has for you and me. So many times I've said that, yes, but, all the time, right? When it comes to God and He's calling me to something. I do it all the time. I've got to learn to push from the shore. So here's the question I have for you. What is keeping you anchored? What is preventing you from pushing away, right, from what you're doing now that maybe is not working, or the failure that you've experienced, or the lack of purpose in your life? But when you know God has something for you, what's keeping you from pushing from the shore? Peter pushed from the shore, and he went out and fished. I love that. I also love the fact to see, because what Peter is in this moment, Peter, all his life, even his professional life, he's been the captain of his boat. He's been in charge of where the boat went. That night before, when he's fishing with his buddies, let's go here, let's go there. He called the shots. But what we see Peter here is the second thing is this. He had the right captain on board this time. Jesus was on board. Jesus was calling the shots. Jesus was directing his path. So the question is the right captain on board of your ship? Is he captaining your life? Is it Jesus and not us? Because you know what? Here's what the fact. Every time we get away or start to move away from God is when we decide to define for ourselves what is best. When you and I define for ourselves what is best, we get off course. We don't have the right captain on board. There are things that are anchoring us so we're not pushing away from the shore. We need to figure those out. And then once we say, okay, I'm going to go, are we going to allow God, are we going to allow Jesus to captain our vessel, our lives? Peter pushed from the shore. Peter had the right captain on board this time. And he said, take it out to that deeper water. We're going to go fish. So he gets out there. So not only did he say, okay, I'm going to push from the shore. Jesus is in charge. He's going to tell me. And then when he gets to that spot, there's other stories where it tells Jesus says, cast your nets on this side of the boat. Jesus tells them what to do and when to do it. That's the other thing. We can get all ready to go right into those right moments. Say we're going to do these things. Jesus is calling the shots. And then we get to that moment with a friend. We get to that moment we have to make a decision, a choice in our life to live for Jesus or to do it our own way. We get to a spot where maybe where we can show integrity and honor God or try to get away with something. There's those moments, but do we actually follow through? You see, here's what happened. Peter pushed from the shore. Peter had the right captain on board. Right? And then here's the third one I want you to get today. Will you be willing to release your nets? Jesus said, you need to cast your nets. He did it. He did it. Jesus brought him to some place that he didn't think was possible, wasn't going to work out to his benefit, but yet he obeyed, he pushed from the shore, he followed Jesus' direction, and then when it came down to it, he actually did it. And he cast his nets. He cast them out. So many times we get right there and we get full of fear. But God says, look, you aren't made to have fear. You aren't made to have fear. You have the power of the Holy Spirit. Fear should not drive us. Fear keeps you and I from our God-given potential. And right then and there, Peter could have said, I'm not going to embarrass myself anymore. I'm not throwing these nets. But he said, I'm throwing them. And it changed his life. It ended up changing the world. So taking that next step, it doesn't have to make sense. Because if God is in it, we need to do it. So what is keeping you anchored to the shore today? What's it going to take to get Jesus to command your life? And then when you finally get there, will you be willing to cast your nets? Will you be willing to do those things that probably don't make sense, but you know God's in it, so you need to do it? That's my challenge, is to take those steps in your faith, to walk and to trust God. And don't let things hold you back, but go after it and allow God to direct your steps so that things that you think are impossible become possible. That's what my challenge is for you. That don't let today be like any other day. Let today be the day that you push from the shore and you go fishing and just wait for all of the blessing to come in. You and I need to understand that Jesus is all we will ever need in directing our path and allow us to live a life that's glorifying to Him. Let go of what's anchoring you. Allow Jesus to sail that ship for you. And you decide to fish. You decide to go where Jesus asks you to go and do what Jesus is asking you to do. And just watch how your life will change. Guys, hope you have a great week. Be blessed, and we'll see you next time.